All right, welcome. This is Gil Fried, the crowd management doctor, and we're talking about stormy courts is the name of this presentation. It's taking a look at court storming. Court storming is a rite of passage. However, so was paddling, wedgies, and other antics that we have decided as a society that we need to possibly end it. Maybe it's time to also stop court and field storming as well. Court and field storming is a process of people running onto a field or a basketball court or whatever it might be after a monumental victory. The following represents some insights from myself, and of course, as I said, I'm Gil Fried, the crowd management doctor here at the University of West Florida, and I'm often referred to as the crowd doctor because I take a serious look at these issues and try to examine them from different perspectives, not just what the media says, but what research has shown. And I've written extensively on this topic, and one of the things that is interesting about this specific topic is that I've handled a number of cases involving storming of fields and courts. And the experience gives me a little bit of insight into what is argued in court, but also the broader cases that are out there. So one of the cases that is often being referred to during this time period is the K case, which happened in Arizona in 2014. And what happened was there was a storming of a basketball court after a victory. A basketball player was hit on the side of his neck. He unfortunately suffered a stroke. And while he was given an opportunity to attend Stanford University on a volleyball scholarship, he was partially paralyzed in the incident. So that is something that we just have to take a look at, and it's unfortunate that those kind of issues occur, but it occurs. The following represents some ideas to consider related to court storming. There have been numerous ideas presented, but some of the easiest solutions really have not been promoted for fear of possibly alienating fans. The positive and negative to various solutions will be considered along with some historical backdrop of what is now front and center for many sport fans. So let me start off with a couple storming incidents that have happened recently. In early 2024, it was a rough year and a rough couple of months for basketball fans and their celebrations around basketball games. On February 24th, Duke star player Kyle Filipowski was injured when fans collided with him when they stormed the court after a victory by Wake Forest against the Blue Devils. The students came so fast onto the court that Filipowski had no time to protect himself. It looked like he was trying to move his leg to try to stop someone or something like that, but it's hard to tell. That incident came shortly after Iowa star basketball player Caitlin Clark avoided, luckily, serious injury when a fan rushed onto the court after Ohio State beat the Iowa Hawkeyes. The fan can be seen on video running onto the court with her phone in the air, taking a picture or video of herself and not even noticing that she ran into the player. The fan was oblivious to arguably the best basketball player in the country and easily could have seriously injured her. While Caitlin was knocked down, she was able to get off the court and was not seriously injured. That was lucky. In December, Purdue men's basketball coach Matt Painter and his top-ranked Boilermakers lost at Northwestern. A month later, his number one ranked team lost at Nebraska. A month after that, Purdue lost at Ohio State. Home team fans stormed the court each time. In his post-game comments in Lincoln, Nebraska, Painter called for improved preparatory safety measures. In anticipation of possible court storming at the Northwestern game, some of the Purdue players and staff were seen exiting the court while time was still on the clock, and Northwestern was shooting free throws. In fact, students started storming the court with 0.3 seconds left on the clock and had to be ushered back so that way they could take the free throws. Since the start of 2024, there have been 3 court storms after Big Ten basketball games at Nebraska, January 9th, when the Cornhuskers routed top-ranked Purdue, February 1st, when the Cornhuskers came back from 19 points down to beat number 6 Wisconsin in overtime, and on February 11th when the Nebraska women's team overcame a 14-point deficit to defeat Clark in number 2 Iowa. It just shows there's a lot of incidents happening, and I don't know if it's more in 2024 than has been in the past, but it's something that we have to take a look at. So what are the possible solutions, and do they actually work? So the following are various solutions that have been undertaken or suggested to deal with court/field stormings. Now, these are suggestions. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work, as we will go in to discuss. The first topic, fines. The Southeast Conference, the SEC, imposes a fine of $100,000 for the first storming of a basketball or a football game field. The next occurrence results in a $250,000 fine, and the third instance results in a $500,000 fine. The fines have been around for years and have had no real impact. In fact, many schools and alumni raise the funds through online sites such as GoFundMe, and they get fans to contribute and help pay for the fine. So it doesn't really hurt the school in its pocketbook because they get other people to pay it. Other conferences or leagues also have fines, but some of them are token fines with no real bite. And the following represents some of the fines that we saw since 2023. For example, there was a $100,000 fine for LSU basketball when they beat Kentucky on February 21st. There was a $100,000 fine when South Carolina basketball beat Kentucky on January 23rd. There was a measly $5,000 fine when Santa Clara basketball beat Gonzaga on January 11th. And there was a $25,000 fine when UCF basketball beat Kansas on January 10th. On September 30th, there was a $100,000 fine levied, and it wasn't on September 30th. The game was on September 30th for Ole Miss when they beat LSU. There also was a $100,000 fine when Missouri football beat Kansas State on September 16, 2023. While fines might appear to generate some publicity, they really don't change conduct. The best example entails fines for speeding. Many drivers are speeding and only slow down when they see an officer. They know the cost, but they are thinking about the odds and feel they are likely to get away with it. Others might feel storming is worth it to generate enthusiasm and excitement for a program. In fact, paying a fine might well be worth the recruiting cachet that could be generated when prospects see the enthusiasm on a campus. So it could be a good marketing strategy. Hopefully not, because people can get injured, and that's the problem. So what are some of the solutions besides a fine? Having a plan. Many pundits say that venues need a plan. As someone who has been involved in this space for years, they all have plans. Some plans are in a 3-inch thick binder for each game, which highlights all the potential detail. I mean, this is detailed down to when they're closing off streets for one way one direction, one way another direction, what exact time, how people are redeployed, all that kind of stuff. I am sure that plans also contain elements associated with a possible crowd rush or crowd or field storming. Other emergency action plans focus on active shooters, bomb threats, fires, medical emergencies, weather-related emergencies, and other concerns. The problem is that it is impossible to prevent all incidents, just like it is impossible to eliminate all crime. Steps can be taken to minimize potential issues, and that is why many plans specifically call for allowing fans to storm a field or a court, as the alternative could possibly lead to more injuries. In one case I was involved with, it was a major Pac-10 university who beat an undefeated nationally ranked football team. The plan specifically provided for opening the gates to allow the fans to rush the field rather than having them possibly asphyxiated by being crushed by fans interested in pushing forward. Because if you have metal tubing and people are pushed against it, that can injure people and it could actually kill people. Even with a plan that worked well, one student fell over a wall and broke their arm. The court examined the plan and held that the university executed the plan, but the injuries still arose. It is impossible to hold a major event with possibly 100,000 people and not have any possible injuries. The plan is designed to address the most significant and likely injuries. A venue can only do what is reasonable under the circumstances and to follow industry best practices or government safety mandates. That doesn't guarantee safety, unfortunately, and you can never guarantee 100% safety. What are other strategies? More security. Some pundits claim that if more security is present, there would not be any storming incidents. That is pure speculation and contradicted by so many years of examples. Security, whether ushers, security, non-uniformed officers, or uniformed police officers, can have a possible impact on some individuals and what they might do, but they cannot have a measurable impact on a mob of thousands intent on storming. Imagine if an officer tries to arrest a person in the middle of that mayhem. The officer and the suspect both risk being injured, especially if they are on steps, stairs, bleachers, things like that. The downward momentum of thousands of people descending down stairs or bleachers cannot be stopped by several officers. You can just imagine it like, hey, please stop, hold it, when thousands of people are coming at you. The industry standard is roughly one trained crowd manager for every 250 people in attendance. Even if there was one trained crowd manager for every 50 fans, that would not stop a crowd intent on storming a court. That is not what that one trained crowd manager for every 250 people is about. That's for fire safety, evacuation safety, patron movement safety, things like that, not for people rushing a field. Another strategy is barriers. One suggestion raised by some is to have some type of barrier between the court and the fans. South Carolina women's basketball team has a yellow rope around the court. This could be problematic for high-end donors who have donations that are quite significant and they want their courtside seats. There are also many fans at NBA games who have courtside seats, and the culture in professional sports is to not go onto the court, even with the most exciting games. This is not barriers, but fan behavior that is the problem. Also, another major concern is the type of barrier that could possibly be utilized. If it is just a rope or stanchions, then it would not really do anything and could possibly be a tripping hazard. If the barriers were, let's say, tubular steel or barricades like bike barricades, they represent an enhanced risk of people being pinned against them from people behind pushing forward. This is sometimes seen at concerts or other events where someone is injured or crushed. This was seen at the Camp Randall Stampede in 1993 after the Michigan-Wisconsin football game. The Badgers won the game against Michigan. They were going to be going to the Rose Bowl. The students stormed the field. The metal barriers were twisted like they were rubber by human bodies, when in fact they could have withstand more than 1,000 pounds pressure per square inch. That shows how much force was exerted by the crowd pushing forward, and twisting and mangled bodies were in fact making the barricades fall apart. And that was human bodies, and they were able to be so forcefully pushed that is what caused all these serious injuries. 77 people were taken to the hospital. How about announcement by stars, coaches, or athletic directors? That's another suggestion. One strategy that some venues use to some success entails announcements made over the public address PA system, or it could be over the scoreboard or things like that. And it could be videos even by coaches, players, and athletic directors imploring fans to not violate the rules or to descend onto the court or the field. Sometimes these strategies work. There have never been a study, though, on their effectiveness. However, it is assumed that a star player or coach would have a greater impact on a crowd than maybe a regular announcer. These videos have successfully been used to educate fans on code of conduct behavior or emergency exits at venues. Thus, they cannot hurt, but there's no proof that they actually have changed and prevented anyone from actually rushing the field. You could also have announcements over loudspeakers. Announcement made by the PA has had limited effect. Sometimes inappropriate comments by a PA announcer, though, can contribute to an issue. In one incident involving a field storming after a Ball State football game years ago, someone from the communication booth posted on the scoreboard that the goalposts look lonely. The resulting field storming resulted in fans trying to take down the goalpost, and during the ensuing mayhem, the goalpost hit someone in the head and rendered him paraplegic. The fan had climbed over a 3-foot barrier, another example that barriers often don't work, but the folks in the communication booth thought it would be fun, exciting to encourage inappropriate student behavior. The better option is to convey to students the need to be safe and to not undertake dangerous activities. So in the PA announcement, say, don't rush the field, you could get injured. It puts them on notice, gives them a warning. Another issue that has been raised is alcohol sales. One concern raised by many is whether students and others are possibly impaired by alcohol. Some have advocated for discontinuing alcohol sales after a given time. Alcohol sales are normally often stopped after the half at football games and around the 12-minute media timeout mark in the second half of men's basketball games, or maybe the end of the third quarter for women's basketball games. While this might seem to be an easy solution, it is not. Alcohol sales are relatively new for college sports, and crowds storming a quarter field have happened for years before alcohol sales were approved at college level. Many students are also cost conscious, and they sneak in alcohol or they partake in drinking before they head to the venue. How can you stop that? Furthermore, there are similar alcohol sales issues with professional sports, and there are rarely any storming incidents in professional sports, so can we really blame it on the alcohol? That does not mean there are no streakers or individuals who try to enter the field or court in professional sports. And I'm not sure if you guys who are watching this video are too young to remember Morgana the Kissing Bandit, but she used to run on the field and kiss like a star baseball player. But those are exceptions rather than the rule. How about alternative celebrations? That could be an option. Some have suggested holding a separate celebration or delaying the rush onto the field until officials and opponents have left. While these might seem like reasonable approaches, they probably would not work with students who want to celebrate the moment a victory is achieved and not wait around 10 minutes for the field or court to empty out. Similarly, many students think it is a tradition and want to be involved in the moment. That is especially accurate in the new social media age where people are looking for a viral moment, and that could happen immediately rather than waiting for some future time or date when the news might not be as newsworthy. I want to run on the court right now, see what I'm doing, look what I'm doing, and wham, you could run into somebody else. What are some other options? Some of the other options that have been discussed include, and these are only some of the ideas, playing without fans. That might not be as exciting, and we'd lose a lot of money doing that, but that's the safest approach sometimes, and that is done at the high school level. Maybe playing on a neutral court. That will hopefully prevent crowd storming issues, but likewise it will have significant financial implication. Maybe playing at odd hours so fans might not be as excited, such as an early morning game. You'll still get revenue, but just not as much. Maybe having a dedicated student section behind a basket or some other location to minimize the distance needed to travel and avoid harm to those not interested in possibly storming the court or the field. So have a section, this is just for students, and then anticipating that they might want to rush the court or the field. Each option has possible concerns or can be considered a last resort option. So why is this an issue? Field and court storming can result in injuries. Numerous videos show people falling, tripping, colliding with each other, and epic celebrations gone wrong. Remember Edwin Diaz's celebration injury in the 2023 World Baseball Classic? He was jumping up and down and then hurt himself. There's actually a very interesting journal article examining 62 athletes injured while celebrating in sports from 1993 to 2015, including one death. If athletes can be injured while celebrating, the average fan can likewise face serious injuries, especially when being jostled, bumped, and trampled by others. While most injuries might be minor, there are injuries nonetheless. There's no way to eliminate all these injuries, and some can escalate into serious injuries, even when it's unintentional. The issue with court field storming entails the risk of injury to fans and players alike. The risk of injury can also impact those who are not interested in going onto the field or court. Many fans have been caught up in the moment of others, or the movement of others, or the moment of the celebration, and were injured by no fault of their own. When there is crowd movement, you could involuntarily be moved a number of feet without you even attempting to move. One of the interesting areas of possible concern also entails litigation. There can be claims by those injured in a rush. These claims can and normally include suits against the athletic department, the university, athletic personnel, security companies, the venue, and other parties. Besides possible suits from those injured, there can also be claims by athletes, coaches, and officials. They can sue someone who injured them as well. In fact, there are laws in many states that say attacks on officials can result in enhanced criminal penalties. It can bump it up to a felony in some states. Even though those laws apply to battery, running into an official is actually battery. Battery is the unlawful touching of somebody else. Assault is the apprehension of being contacted. Battery is being touched. Thus, there is a possible criminal law element besides possible civil liabilities. So what are the solutions that can really work? That's what we're really trying to focus in on. The following represents some potential options to address the issue of court or field storming. Game forfeiture. Some have advocated for a home team to forfeit the game they had just won if there was a storming. That might encourage some to avoid such a harsh penalty for a program. Such a plan would appear to have more clout than the current financial penalties. Imagine if a team wins the conference tournament and will be going to the big dance, the NCAA March Madness, but they get disqualified from the tournament because of the field rush. Now, what if it's the movement of one person? Probably not, but if there's hundreds or thousands of people, yeah, that could result in that. That would be a huge incentive for fans to police themselves and not storm a court. How about loss of a home game? Another option is to have the next home game for a school canceled. This could lose the school a lot of money in ticket sales and concession revenues. It can also serve as a warning that future action could result in even more game cancellation for the home team. Imagine if your whole season was canceled at home and you had to play all the games on the road. This might result in some contractual issues, but also put pressure on administrators to change people's behavior and for the fans to police themselves. That is the ultimate result if the fans police themselves. And that results in the next category, which is change the culture. All the various solutions suggested failed to address the primary issue, which is fans themselves and how they behave. Years ago, there were no fan code of conduct. I remember going to games as a kid, and you didn't see that at all. I mean, you see pictures from the 1950s, people are wearing suit and ties and hats and everything else. People were expected to behave in a certain manner. Civility has been lost, often more so on college campuses. This can be seen in, for example, the anti-Israel rhetoric on college campuses, where any dissenting opinions are shot down, but they're often shot down in a violent way. This lack of civility needs to change, and that is where university officials can educate their students as to what is appropriate behavior. It might require a carrot and stick approach, but all the risk management efforts discussed are only band-aid solutions when the underlying condition is not addressed. We have to address that. Utilize the legal system is the next strategy. Those who want to storm a court or field should be informed that such efforts are a violation of whether it's trespass laws, whether it's policies and procedures of the university, whatever it might be, and individuals would be fully prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Professional sport venues regularly issue what are called trespass bars for those who try to enter the field of play or otherwise violate venue rules. Those who storm a court or a field could be prosecuted and barred from attending future events at that venue. Imagine a lifetime ban from a venue. You might change your behavior. Some might wonder how this could be accomplished. There are thousands of people storming a court or a field. The answer is very easy, and that is facial recognition software. Every university already has a copy of a student's face from issuing ID cards for the students. These photos can easily be uploaded to facial recognition software system, and students can be told in advance, look at, your photo will be utilized for not just for processing payments or going to registrar's office or things like that, but for safety purposes. Video images can quickly be scanned by AI-enabled software to identify students, and then they can be processed through the judicial system on campus. That's carrot and the stick. Sometimes that works. The second element of the legal system is to hold people liable for their actions. If they help destroy property or injure people, they should be held accountable. This could be through prosecution for criminal offenses such as vandalism or battery, and it could also be to face possible civil penalties for harm they might have caused someone. Imagine if Caitlin Clark was so seriously injured that she would not be able to play professional basketball at the highest level. Would she be able to sue for the loss of income? And in the legal system, yes, because she was not doing anything wrong. So if we hit people in the pocketbook, as well as possible legal bills and fines, they might quickly change their behavior. The last category I really want to take a look at is developing new policies and procedures. Possibly the most viable option for addressing storming is to develop new policies and procedures that have teeth and are enforced. The most effective risk management tools are associated with what I like to call the layering approach. This entails multiple levels of protection efforts rather than just one, what people perceive as a simple solution. For example, a robust program could include the following. New policies such as student code of conduct violations for one to storm a field or a court, and that someone can be punished with fines or expulsion from the university. Make that a specific rule within the student code of conduct. Communicate that rule or that policy to all students in the student code of conduct on the university webpage, on ticket buying plans, through student government, through student clubs, through Greek life, whatever it might be, get the word out there. Post the policies around the venue and on the venue's webpage. Hang posters around the venue similar to fan code of conduct posters. Make sure they're visible and that they're all over the place so people can't say, I didn't see it, I don't know. Have warnings on the back of tickets. There are warnings right now. Add one more. Even though it's very fine small print, add one more. Shoot public service announcements with star players, campus leaders, and coaches discouraging this type of conduct. Have warnings show on the video screen, and especially if it's by a player saying, hey, look, you're part of our team, don't break our team rules. Have warnings aired on the PA system. Have officials make statements as to the possible penalty for such behavior before a close game ends. During a timeout when there's still 5-10 minutes left in a game, it's an easy time to make a statement saying, we're monitoring you, we're going to be punishing you if you do this. Broadcast footage of the storming around campus and indicate what penalties were imposed on those who engaged in the conduct. Is this a little bit of shaming? Yeah, but it also hopefully will discourage some kind of conduct because you don't want to be in that video. Have public hearings for those caught violating the rules. So do it in a public setting so that way people know what's going to happen. Promote what punishments were meted out to discourage future potential issues. Those are all possible parts of a layer that it's not just one thing, you have to do multiple things. There's no perfect solution. but efforts need to be taken to minimize the risk associated with such behavior before someone unfortunately dies. The same type of concern was seen in Major League Baseball with foul ball netting. It took several serious injuries publicized on social media and the death of a Dodgers fan for Major League Baseball to take serious efforts to better protect fans with more netting. We're at the point with field and court stormings that we need to act. Now is the time for change rather than waiting for more serious injuries. So, I hope you've been able to learn a bit from this. Watch all the other crowd management doctor videos, and I hope we all stay safe out there. I know it's exciting to celebrate when your team wins, but there are celebrations and there are safe celebrations. Let's celebrate safely, and for those that are working the front line, try to monitor your own safety during these type of incidences, because you don't want to be trampled and you don't want to get injured yourself. And you don't want to be the one person trying to hold back thousands of people trying to rush a field, because it's just physically impossible to do that. Take care, everyone, and be safe. Bye.